said she finna shoot this girl. Let me go get this gun from Erica, girl. She's so crazy, girl. I told her, don't do this and this, just laughing like it's funny. So now my focus on her to see what direction she's going in to the Erica girl. That girl was angry about something. That girl was mad. And she told everybody that she was gonna shoot them folks. And them people better stand up and say, they better stand up and tell the truth. They better stand up and tell the motherfucking truth.
This is the story of Erica Reese. On a spring night in Montgomery, Alabama, 32-year-old Erica Reese sat in a parking lot with a loaded pistol, waiting. She had been there for 45 minutes. Inside the club, her romantic rival, 31-year-old Katina Davis, was with the man they both claimed to love. Erica had made her intentions clear to the world weeks earlier. The Facebook Live video was still online. In it, Erica had issued a direct threat to Katina, her words chilling in their specificity. Someone's mother would soon be writing an obituary. She talked about her pistol. She talked about what she would do when she caught them together. Hundreds of people watched. No one called the police. No one intervened.
That hoe in the way. Hold on, them hoes don't stay on the ass side of town in Montgomery and got a desk to keep on writing motherfucking status about me. Bitch, y'all hoes live like Mexicans in 2 bedrooms. In a 2 bedroom. Leave me the fuck alone, bitch. Leave me the fuck alone. Get you some money. That nigga can't be getting you no money because you always talking about me. Typing about me. Everything you saying is about me. Ring around Rosa face looking ass. Fuck on, bitch. Go clean up with your nasty ass. From my understanding, you don't even clean up, bitch, because you that nasty. Gas tank on E, begging ass, crybaby ass, bitch. And I'm by myself, ho. I don't need nobody no car back with me, bitch. I'm by myself. I always be by myself. Always by myself. That's all the thing. When you see me, you gonna see me by myself with that big old pistol that ain't got them pistol lights for. But bitches like you just wanna like they wanna play with me, bitch. Your mama gonna be sitting around here writing out your obituary if you fuck with me, bitch, and you come out motherfucking way. That's on Pam, bitch. Your mammy gonna write out your obituary, bitch. Now play with me. Sit over there and listen to all that bullshit you want to them lies. Play with me. Watch what the fuck I do, bitch. And I ain't just talking, bitch. I know everything I'm saying, bitch. Your mammy gonna write your obituary out. You cheap ass hoe. Whole claim she stay where to Birmingham, but always on Facebook every day typing about me. Throwing shade out about me like ain't nobody gonna come back and tell me what that hoe saying. God, go sit in the real stylish chair and stop letting that hoe play in your head. With them ugly $30, $40 ass hairdo that you be getting. Hair discounted ass bitch. That what the fuck you need to fucking do. Now let me get off live and go entertain and do what the fuck I was finna do. Cause this hoe right here ain't talking about nothing. She dead ugly. I'm so tired of entertaining.
Now at 1:15 a.m. on May 1st, 2022, the digital threats were about to become devastatingly real. When Katina and the man emerged from the club on East Patton Avenue, Erica was ready. What happened next took seconds. Witnesses would later claim Erica drew her weapon first. But Katina was faster. Gunshots erupted in the parking lot. When the chaos ended, 3 people had been shot. Erica Reese lay dead at the scene, her own prophecy fulfilled, but the obituary would be written by her mother, not Katina's. The man they both fought over walked away with his life. 2 other victims were rushed to the hospital by private vehicle, one with life-threatening injuries. Katina Davis was arrested and charged with murder, first-degree assault, and second-degree assault.
In an update tonight, a judge has reduced a Montgomery murder suspect's bail. Katina Davis was arrested following a weekend triple shooting that killed 1 person and injured 2 on East Patton Avenue in West Montgomery. The bail for her murder charge was originally set at $1.5 million. Today, District Judge Pamela Higgins reduced it to just $150,000. Her 2 assault charges bail amounts stay the same. They currently total $45,000.
The case would raise disturbing questions about social media threats, self-defense, and what happens when 2 armed women collide over a man who bore no consequences. But first, investigators needed to untangle what really happened in those final seconds, and whether this shooting was murder or something far more complicated. This is the complete story, every action, every chilling detail. Welcome to Everyday True Crime. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a case. Stay with us for more gripping investigations and raw true crime stories delivered daily. Now let's dive in. Erica Reese was 32 years old when she died in the early morning hours of May 1, 2022, in a parking lot on the 500 block of East Patton Avenue in Montgomery, Alabama. She was a mother to multiple children, all of whom would be left without their biological mother following the events of that night. Her death occurred in the neighborhood where she had lived and raised her family, a community in Montgomery's East Patton Avenue area near the Normandale Shopping Center. Reese's life in the months leading up to her death was increasingly dominated by a romantic conflict that would ultimately prove fatal. She was involved in a relationship with a man whose identity has remained largely unreported in mainstream media coverage of the case. This relationship, which she shared with another woman, became the central focus of her final weeks and months. What distinguished Reese's conflict from countless other romantic disputes was her decision to make it publicly visible through social media. She maintained an active Facebook presence, using the platform not merely for social connection but as a venue to air grievances, issue threats, and document her escalating anger toward her romantic rival. This digital footprint would later provide investigators and prosecutors with a detailed record of the conflict's progression. Reese's Facebook activity included regular posts about her personal conflicts. She did not attempt to hide her feelings or her intentions. Instead, she broadcast them to her network of friends, family, and acquaintances. Her most significant social media activity came in the form of Facebook Live videos, a feature that allows users to broadcast in real time to their followers. These videos would become crucial evidence in understanding both her state of mind and the events leading to the confrontation. In these broadcasts, Reese spoke directly about her conflict with Katina Davis, the other woman involved with the same man. She made specific threats of violence. She referenced her possession of a firearm. Most chillingly, she predicted that someone's mother would soon be writing an obituary, a prophecy that would be fulfilled, though not in the way she intended. At the center of this fatal triangle was a man whose identity has been deliberately or circumstantially omitted from most media reports about the case. What is known about him comes primarily from court documents, witness statements, and online discussions among community members familiar with the case. This individual was simultaneously involved in romantic relationships with both Erica Reese and Katina Davis. According to information circulating in online forums and community discussions, he reportedly worked under the table at an Exxon gas station, suggesting employment that may have been informal or unreported for tax purposes. This detail, while seemingly minor, provides context about the socio-economic circumstances surrounding the case. The man's role in the escalating conflict between the 2 women is significant. He was present on the night of the shooting, having been at the club with Katina Davis when Erica Reese learned of their location and decided to confront them. His decision to maintain concurrent relationships with both women created the fundamental tension that would lead to violence. There is no public evidence that this individual made any serious attempt to de-escalate the conflict between Reese and Davis. He did not end his relationship with either woman when the situation became publicly hostile. He did not report Reese's threats to law enforcement. He did not prevent Davis from being armed on the night of the confrontation. He was present for the shooting and witnessed the death of one woman and the arrest of another, yet he faced no criminal charges and bears no legal responsibility for the tragedy. This man's apparent lack of accountability represents a recurring pattern in cases involving violence between women over romantic partners. While 2 women's lives were irrevocably destroyed, one dead, one facing murder charges, the individual who created and maintained the conditions for their conflict walked away legally unscathed. Katina Davis was 31 years old at the time of the incident. Like Erica Reese, she lived in Montgomery, Alabama, and was a mother with children. She was romantically involved with the same man as Reese, creating the triangle that would end in gunfire. Davis's relationship with this man brought her into direct conflict with Reese, making her the target of sustained online harassment and threats. Unlike Reese, Davis did not engage in public social media warfare. Her digital presence in relation to the conflict was significantly less visible, though she was undoubtedly aware of Reese's threats through Facebook, either by viewing them directly or having them reported to her by mutual acquaintances. The documented evidence shows that Davis knew about the escalating tensions. She knew that Reese had made specific threats against her life. She knew that Reese had publicly stated she would use violence if they confronted each other. Despite this knowledge, Davis made the decision to arm herself on the night of May 1, 2022. This decision to carry a firearm would prove legally significant. It could be interpreted as prudent self-protection given the documented threats, or as evidence that Davis herself was prepared for armed confrontation. The presence of the weapon on her person when she went to the club with the shared romantic partner suggests she anticipated the possibility of encountering Reese. Davis's actions following the shooting, specifically her cooperation with police and her legal team's immediate assertion of self-defense, indicate a woman who believed her actions were legally justifiable. Whether this belief was legally accurate would become the central question of the subsequent criminal case. The exact timeline of when both women became involved with the same man remains unclear from public records. What is documented is that at some point, both Reese and Davis discovered they were sharing a romantic partner. This discovery did not lead either woman to end the relationship. The question of how each woman learned of the other's existence is significant. In the age of social media, such discoveries often happen through digital means: a tagged photo, a mutual friend's comment, inconsistencies in a partner's posted locations. Whatever the method of discovery, both women made the conscious decision to continue their involvement with this man despite knowing they were not his only partner. This decision created a dynamic of ongoing conflict and competition. Rather than directing their anger toward the man who had deceived them both, the women focused their hostility on each other. This pattern is common in romantic triangle situations and reflects broader social conditioning about how women should respond to romantic rivalry. The man's role in maintaining both relationships simultaneously cannot be overlooked. He did not choose between the women. He did not end things with either of them when the conflict became public and threatening. He allowed the situation to escalate while continuing to engage with both women. His presence at the club with Davis on the night of the shooting, knowing that Reese was making violent threats, demonstrates either remarkable indifference to the danger or a failure to grasp the seriousness of the situation. The conflict between Erica Reese and Katina Davis played out extensively on social media, specifically on Facebook. This digital warfare provided a public record of the escalating tensions and Reese's increasingly explicit threats of violence. Reese posted multiple times about Davis, using Facebook to communicate her anger and her intentions. These posts were visible to her network of friends and followers, creating a public audience for the conflict. The posts escalated from general expressions of anger to specific threats of physical violence. The most significant piece of digital evidence was a Facebook Live video in which Reese spoke directly about her conflict with Davis. In this broadcast, she discussed her possession of a pistol and her willingness to use it. She made the specific statement that Katina Davis's mother would be writing her obituary soon. This phrase, concrete, specific, and threatening, would later be noted for its tragic irony, as it would be Reese's own mother who would write an obituary following the events of May 1, 2022. The duration and frequency of Reese's online harassment extended over weeks, possibly months. Each post, each video, each threat added to a documented record of her intentions. Yet despite the public nature of these threats, there is no evidence that anyone reported them to law enforcement. Friends and followers witnessed the escalation but did not intervene through official channels. The public nature of the feud meant that dozens, possibly hundreds of people were aware that violence was likely. Comments on Reese's posts showed that her social circle was engaged with the conflict. Some comments allegedly encouraged the confrontation rather than attempting to de-escalate. This phenomenon, friends hyping up conflict rather than preventing it, is common in social media-mediated disputes, where the performance of toughness and the refusal to back down become publicly valued traits. The question of why no one successfully intervened to prevent this tragedy has multiple answers, all of which reflect broader social and cultural patterns. First, social media threats are rarely reported to police in many communities. There exists a widespread perception that online drama is not serious, that threats posted on Facebook are merely venting and do not represent genuine intentions. This perception persists despite numerous cases where social media threats have preceded real-world violence. The normalization of aggressive and threatening language online has created a situation where even explicit threats of murder may not trigger intervention. Second, there are cultural factors specific to certain communities that discourage involving law enforcement in personal disputes. In communities where relationships with police are strained, or where there is a cultural preference for handling conflicts without official intervention, even serious threats may go unreported. The decision to handle things personally rather than involving authorities can be driven by distrust of the justice system, fear of making things worse, or cultural values that prioritize personal resolution. Third, the role of pride and reputation in preventing de-escalation cannot be underestimated. In the social dynamics visible through Reese's Facebook posts, backing down from a threat would likely have been seen as weakness. The public nature of her threats meant that any decision to de-escalate would have been equally public, potentially leading to social consequences including mockery and loss of respect. This dynamic creates powerful incentives to follow through on threats even when doing so is clearly dangerous. Finally, the role of friends in this situation appears to have been counterproductive. Rather than calming Reese down or convincing her to abandon her plans for confrontation, friends were allegedly present with her during the 45-minute wait in the parking lot and did not successfully remove her from the situation. The presence of friends who failed to intervene, or worse, who encourage dangerous behavior, represents a significant factor in how online conflicts translate into real-world violence. On the evening of April 30, 2022, extending into the early morning of May 1st, Katina Davis and the man both women were involved with went to a club in Montgomery. This outing was either publicly known or became known to Erica Reese through social media, mutual acquaintances, or direct observation. Upon learning that Davis and the man were together at the club, Reese made a series of decisions that would lead directly to her death. She armed herself with a pistol. She traveled to the club's location on the 500 block of East Patton Avenue, near the Normandale shopping center area. She positioned herself in the parking lot and waited. The approximately 45-minute wait is significant. This was not a spontaneous encounter or a crime of passion in the traditional sense. Reese had time to reconsider her actions. She had time to leave. She had time to calm down or be convinced by others to abandon her plan. The extended wait demonstrates premeditation and a sustained commitment to confrontation despite having ample opportunity to change course. During this wait, Reese was not alone. Friends were present with her in the parking lot. These individuals witnessed her armed and waiting to confront Davis. They saw her state of mind. They had 45 minutes to de-escalate the situation, to convince her to leave, to call someone who might talk her down, or to contact police. None of these interventions occurred successfully. Whether the friends encouraged the confrontation, remained passive, or attempted unsuccessfully to stop it, their presence represents a failure of informal social controls that might have prevented violence. At approximately 1:15 a.m. on May 1st, 2022, Katina Davis and the man emerged from the club and began walking toward the parking lot. Erica Reese, who had been waiting, moved to confront them. The physical setting was the 500 block of East Patton Avenue in Montgomery's Normandale shopping center area. The time, early Sunday morning, meant that while the club had patrons, the surrounding area was likely relatively quiet. The parking lot provided an open space where the confrontation would unfold with multiple witnesses present. Reese's state of mind during the 45-minute wait can only be inferred from her subsequent actions and her prior social media posts. She had spent weeks or months expressing anger and making threats. She had publicly declared her intention to harm Davis. She had armed herself and positioned herself to intercept her rival. These facts suggest a woman committed to confrontation and prepared to use violence. Multiple witnesses were present in the parking lot. Some were likely associated with Reese, having waited with her. Others were probably club patrons leaving the venue or arriving for the late-night scene. The presence of witnesses meant that what followed would be observed and later recounted to investigators, though witness statements would vary in their details. When Davis and the man appeared, the initial confrontation between the women began. The exact words exchanged are not part of the public record, but the encounter escalated rapidly from verbal confrontation to drawn weapons. According to witness accounts provided to police, Erica Reese drew her weapon first, or was in the process of drawing it. This detail would become crucial to the legal questions that followed. Katina Davis, who was also armed, responded by drawing her own weapon. What happened next occurred in seconds. Multiple gunshots were fired. 3 people were struck. Erica Reese sustained a fatal gunshot wound. She fell in the parking lot and was pronounced dead at the scene by responding emergency personnel. The woman who had predicted someone's mother would write an obituary became the subject of that obituary herself. An adult male victim sustained a life-threatening gunshot wound. His identity has not been publicly confirmed, but his serious injury suggests he was struck by 1 or more bullets in a critical area. The life-threatening nature of his wounds meant he required immediate medical attention. An adult female victim sustained a non-life-threatening gunshot wound. Her presence at the scene and relationship to the other parties has not been fully detailed in public records. Her injury was serious enough to require medical treatment but did not threaten her life. The immediate aftermath of the shooting involved chaos typical of such incidents. Emergency calls were placed to 911. However, notably, the 2 wounded victims were not transported by ambulance. Instead, they were taken to the hospital by personal vehicle, suggesting either that those present did not wait for emergency services or that they believed faster transport by private vehicle was necessary given the severity of the injuries. The Montgomery Police Department arrived at the scene and secured it for investigation. The body of Erica Reese remained in the parking lot as officers processed the crime scene. Evidence collection included recovering the weapons used, documenting the positions of shell casings, photographing the scene, and identifying and interviewing witnesses. The Montgomery Police Department received the emergency call at approximately 1:15 a.m. reporting shots fired in the 500 block of East Patton Avenue. Officers were dispatched immediately to what was initially reported as a shooting with multiple victims. Upon arrival, officers found Erica Reese deceased in the parking lot with a fatal gunshot wound. The 2 other victims had already been transported privately to the hospital. The scene showed clear evidence of a shooting, shell casings, blood, and the weapon or weapons involved. Crime scene processing involved standard investigative procedures. Photographs were taken from multiple angles to document the positions of evidence. Shell casings were marked, photographed, and collected for ballistics analysis. The area was measured and diagrammed. Any weapons present were secured as evidence. Witness interviews began immediately. Multiple individuals were present in the parking lot at the time of the shooting, and officers worked to identify and separate witnesses to obtain independent accounts of what occurred. This process is standard in shooting investigations to prevent witnesses from coordinating their stories. The ballistics evidence would later be analyzed to determine how many shots were fired, from which weapons, and in what sequence. This technical analysis could potentially corroborate or contradict witness statements about who shot first and how the confrontation unfolded. The witness testimonies collected that night provided the initial framework for understanding the incident. One critical witness claimed to have seen the entire confrontation. This witness's account stated that Erica Reese drew her weapon first, or was in the process of drawing it, when Katina Davis responded by drawing her own weapon and firing. This sequence of events, if accurate, would be crucial to Davis's claim of self-defense. If Reese had indeed drawn first, Davis could argue she was responding to an imminent threat to her life. However, witness reliability, witness perspective, lighting conditions, and the chaos of the moment all created questions about the accuracy of this account. Other witnesses present in the parking lot provided additional perspectives, though the details of their statements have not been made public. The Facebook Live video evidence showing Reese's prior threats to Davis became immediately relevant to investigators, as it established both motive and premeditation on Reese's part, while potentially supporting Davis's claim that she reasonably feared for her life. Katina Davis was taken into custody following the shooting. She was arrested and formally charged with 3 separate offenses related to the 3 victims. Murder, for the death of Erica Reese. This is the most serious charge and carried the potential for life imprisonment or even the death penalty depending on the circumstances and prosecutorial decisions. First-degree assault, for the life-threatening gunshot wound sustained by the adult male victim. First-degree assault in Alabama involves intentionally causing serious physical injury to another person, and the life-threatening nature of the male victim's wounds supported this charge. Second-degree assault, for the non-life-threatening gunshot wound sustained by the adult female victim. Second-degree assault involves causing physical injury under circumstances that demonstrate recklessness or criminal negligence. Davis was transported to the Montgomery County Detention Facility for booking and initial detention. Her initial bond hearing resulted in bond being set at $1,545,000, over $1.5 million. This extraordinarily high bond reflected the severity of the charges. 1 person dead and 2 others seriously wounded. The bond amount suggested that the court viewed Davis as either a significant flight risk or a danger to the community, or both. The $1 million bond effectively meant Davis would remain in custody unless she could arrange for a bond payment that typically requires 10% in cash or a bondsman willing to post the full amount for a fee. For most individuals, a $1.5 million bond is insurmountable, ensuring pre-trial detention. However, this bond would not remain in effect for long. Within days, a controversial bond reduction hearing would change Davis's circumstances dramatically. On May 2 to 3, 2022, just days after the shooting, a bond hearing was held before District Judge Pamela Higgins. The purpose of this hearing was to reconsider the initial bond amount set at Davis's arrest. Judge Higgins made a decision that would generate significant controversy and public outcry. She reduced the bond for the murder charge from its portion of the $1.5 million total down to $150,000. Additional bond amounts totaling $45,000 for the assault charges were taken under advisement. The total potential reduction brought Davis's bond from $1,545,000 down to approximately $195,000, nearly a 90% reduction. This dramatic decrease in bond made it financially feasible for Davis to potentially secure release pending trial. At the reduced amount, a bondsman might be willing to post bond for a fee of roughly $19,500 to $20,000, an amount that, while still substantial, was far more achievable than the original figure. Montgomery County District Attorney Darrell Bailey publicly objected to this reduction. He made a statement emphasizing that the bond reduction was made over my objection, a phrase that indicated his strong opposition and his desire to make clear to the public that this decision did not reflect the prosecution's position. The district attorney's concerns were documented and presented to the court. Bailey argued that Davis represented both a flight risk and a danger to the community. He emphasized the severity of the charges, 1 person dead and 2 others seriously wounded. He contended that the circumstances of the case, a shooting in a public parking lot with multiple victims, warranted keeping the bond at a level that would ensure Davis remained in custody pending trial. The public reaction to the bond reduction was swift and intense. Erica Reese's family and supporters expressed outrage that a person charged with murder could potentially be released on a relatively modest bond. Questions were raised about equal justice, whether other defendants with similar charges would receive the same consideration, or whether factors such as Davis's self-defense claim, her lack of prior criminal history, or other circumstances had influenced the judge's decision. Community members debated the appropriateness of the reduction on social media and in local forums. Some argued that the documented evidence of Reese's threats supported Davis's self-defense claim and justified the reduction. Others contended that regardless of the circumstances, a person charged with murder should not be released on any bond, or should at minimum face a bond high enough to ensure detention. The controversy highlighted broader debates about bail reform, the purpose of pre-trial detention, and how courts should balance the presumption of innocence against public safety concerns in cases involving serious violence. Katina Davis's legal defense centered on a claim of self-defense, an assertion that would prove legally complicated given the circumstances of the case. The defense strategy relied on several elements. First, Davis's attorneys would present evidence of Erica Reese's prior threats, documented through the Facebook posts and Facebook Live videos. These threats established that Reese had publicly and repeatedly declared her intention to harm or kill Davis. This evidence demonstrated that Davis had reason to fear Reese and could anticipate that an encounter might turn violent. Second, witness testimony stating that Reese drew her weapon first was crucial. If Reese initiated the use of deadly force by drawing a gun, Davis could argue she responded to an imminent threat. Under Alabama law, a person is justified in using deadly force if they reasonably believe such force is necessary to protect themselves from death or serious physical injury. Third, Alabama has stand your ground provisions that eliminate the duty to retreat before using defensive force in places where a person has a legal right to be. Davis was in a public parking lot where she had every right to be. Under stand your ground doctrine, she would not be required to attempt to flee before defending herself, even if escape were possible. The prosecution, however, faced significant challenges in countering this self-defense claim. Erica Reese's documented threats made Davis's fear more plausible and legally reasonable. The prosecution would need to argue that despite these threats, Davis's use of deadly force was not justified under the specific circumstances of the confrontation. Key questions the prosecution might raise included: did Katina Davis have a duty to retreat despite stand your ground laws, given that she knew of the threats and could have avoided the location? Was the use of deadly force reasonable when Davis could have remained inside the club or left through another exit? Who truly initiated the armed confrontation? Was it Reese by drawing her weapon, or was it Davis by choosing to be present while armed at a location where she knew confrontation was likely? The complexity of mutual combat presented additional legal challenges. Both women were armed. Both women were aware of the ongoing feud. Both women made the choice to be present at the location, Reese by waiting in the parking lot, Davis by exiting the club knowing Reese might be there. When two people engage in a confrontation where both are armed and both have reason to anticipate violence, how does the law determine who is the aggressor and who is the defender? This question becomes even more complicated when considering that Reese's 45-minute wait in the parking lot demonstrated premeditation, yet Davis's decision to carry a weapon to the club suggests she also anticipated potential confrontation. The legal system must somehow parse these facts to determine whether Davis's actions constituted legally justified self-defense or whether they crossed the line into mutual combat or excessive force. Public records regarding the final outcome of Katina Davis's case are notably limited. Despite the high-profile nature of the shooting and the initial media coverage, there is no readily accessible information about whether the case proceeded to trial or was resolved through a plea agreement. Several potential outcomes would have been considered by both prosecution and defense. A murder conviction would have resulted in a lengthy prison sentence, potentially life without parole depending on Alabama's sentencing guidelines and the specific circumstances. A manslaughter conviction, if the court or jury accepted that self-defense was partially valid but that Davis's response was excessive or that mutual combat negated full self-defense, would have resulted in a lesser but still substantial sentence. An acquittal based on self-defense remained possible if a jury concluded that Davis's actions were legally justified given Reese's threats and the witness testimony about who drew first. Alternatively, a plea agreement to reduce charges might have been negotiated, particularly if both sides recognized the uncertainties of taking the case to trial given the self-defense evidence. The absence of readily available public information about the case's resolution is not unusual for cases that do not proceed to trial or that are resolved through plea agreements, which often receive less media attention than the initial incident. However, for those seeking to understand the full arc of this tragedy, the unknown outcome represents a significant gap in the narrative. If this story gripped your heart and left you questioning the truth, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with others who need to hear it. For more chilling true crime stories that dive deep into the mysteries behind these tragedies, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest updates, investigations, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being part of this journey with us as we uncover the truth and seek justice. Together, we can make a difference. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.